The small room was cold and dark. Kilara sat on the metal floor, her back against the wall. Her forearms were wrapped around her knees, trying to keep warm. The iridescent scales on her skin had lost their shine days ago. She hadn't eaten in so long that she had stopped feeling hungry. The water dripping from a broken pipe in the corner was the only thing keeping her alive. Outpost 86 had once been busy and full of traders. Now most of the station was shut down. The lights flickered every few hours. Soon they would go out forever. Kilara knew this but didn't move. Where could she go? No one wanted her anymore. She remembered when the Vexry Trading Consortium had first bought her. They paid a high price for her skills. Kilara could solve complex math problems faster than most computers. She could learn new languages in days. For many years, she had been valuable property. Then everything changed. The new AI systems could do her job better and faster. They didn't need food or rest. They didn't make mistakes. Almost overnight, Kilara became worthless. Her owner sold her to a junk dealer for almost nothing. Even he didn't want her. After trying to sell her for weeks, he locked her in the storage room and never came back. That was 20 days ago, by her count. The station had been slowly dying around her ever since. Kilara didn't fight her fate. The Zinthi were not warriors. Her people had been servants for so many generations that freedom wasn't something they understood. Without an owner, without orders, without purpose, what was she? Nothing. No one. A distant sound made her ears twitch. The noise was different from the usual creaks and groans of the failing station. It was rhythmic, footsteps. Someone was walking down the corridor outside her room. Kilara didn't call out. Whoever it was wouldn't care about a forgotten Zinthi. The footsteps stopped at her door. There was a pause, then the sound of someone trying the lock. Kilara didn't move. Maybe they would go away. The door slid open with a screech. Light from a handheld lamp flooded the small space. Kilara blinked, her large purple eyes struggling to adjust after days in the dark. "Hello? Is someone in here?" The voice was deep but not harsh. It spoke a language Kilara had learned years ago. Human Standard English. A figure stepped into the room. The lamplight showed a human male. He wore a worn jacket with many pockets and sturdy boots. His face had hair around the mouth and chin. His skin was brown, and his eyes widened when they saw her. "God Almighty," he whispered. He moved closer, crouching down to her level. "Are you hurt? Do you understand me?" Kilara nodded slowly. Her voice was rough from lack of use. "I understand Human Standard English. I am not injured." "Are you my new owner?" The human's face changed. His eyebrows pulled together. "Owner? No, I'm just looking for salvage. My name's John Miller. I'm a trader. My ship docked an hour ago. What are you doing locked in here?" Kilara looked down at the floor. "I was sold to the junk dealer. He could not sell me again. I am outdated technology, not worth feeding." John Miller was quiet for a moment. Then he reached into his pack and pulled out a container. "Here, water. Drink it slowly." Kilara took the container with shaking hands. The water was cool and clean. She sipped it carefully, knowing too much at once would make her sick. "You're not technology. You're a person," John said. His voice sounded angry, but Kilara could tell the anger wasn't directed at her. "How long have you been in here?" 20 station cycles. "Approximately 23 Earth days," John cursed it under his breath. He pulled out another package from his bag and opened it. Inside was some kind of food bar. "Eat this." Small bites. Kilara took the bar with one of her lower hands. She nibbled at it, the sweet flavor almost overwhelming after so long without food. "Thank you," she said quietly. "But if you are not my new owner, why are you helping me?" John looked at her with an expression Kilara couldn't read. "Because you need help? That's reason enough where I come from." Before Kilara could respond, a loud alarm began to blare throughout the station. Red emergency lights flashed in the corridor outside. "What's that?" John asked, standing up quickly. Kilara's ears flattened against her head at the painful noise. "Life support failure warning." "It has happened 3 times before, but the backup system's activated." "They may not work this time?" John looked at the door, then back at Kilara. She could see him thinking. calculating, weighing options. She had seen that look on many faces before. He would leave now. It was the logical choice. "Can you walk?" he asked. Kilara blinked in surprise. I think so. I have not tried in many days. We need to go, now. My ship is docked at Bay 12. He held out his hand to her. Kilara stared at the offered hand. This was not how things worked. She was worthless, broken, left behind. Yet this human wanted to take her with him. With trembling arms, she reached up and took his hand. John pulled gently, helping her to her feet. Her legs shook badly. Without thinking, she grabbed his shoulder with one of her upper arms to steady herself. "Sorry," she said quickly, pulling her hand back. "It's fine. Lean on me if you need to." John put his arm around her waist, supporting her weight. "We need to hurry." They moved into the corridor, Kilara's steps becoming stronger as they walked. The alarm continued to scream around them. The station groaned like a dying animal. "Why are you helping me?" Kilara asked again as they turned a corner. "I have no value." John kept moving, guiding her toward the docking bays. "Everyone has value. Worth isn't measured by what you can do or what someone will pay for you." These words made no sense to Kilara. All her life, her worth had been measured exactly that way. She didn't argue, though. She needed to save her strength for walking. The journey to Bay 12 felt endless. Twice, they had to stop when Kilara's legs gave out. Each time, John waited patiently until she could move again. He never suggested leaving her behind. Finally, they reached a large doorway marked Docking Bay 12 inches in several languages. John pressed his hand to the access panel. The door slid open, revealing a small cargo ship. It wasn't new or impressive, but to Kilara it looked like salvation. "That's the Wanderer, my home," John said. Pride filled his voice. "Let's get you aboard." As they crossed the bay, the station lights flickered and went out completely. Only the emergency floor lighting remained. The air felt suddenly thinner. "Life support is failing," Kilara said, her breath coming faster. The backup systems did not engage. John moved quicker, half carrying her up the boarding ramp. Almost there. They reached the airlock just as a computerized voice announced throughout the station, "Critical system failure. Evacuate immediately. Critical system failure." John pressed his palm to the ship's access panel. The outer door opened. He helped Kilara inside, then sealed the door behind them. "We made it," he said, smiling at her. "You're safe now." Kilara stood in the small airlock, her forearms hanging at her sides. She didn't understand what was happening. Why had this human saved her? What would he want in return? What would happen to her now? Through the viewport, she watched as the emergency lights in the docking bay flickered and died. Outpost 86 was taking its final breaths. Kilara turned to look at John Miller, the human who had found her in the dark. For the first time in as long as she could remember, she felt something strange stirring inside her. It might have been hope. The inside of the Wanderer was warm and bright compared to the cold darkness of Outpost 86. Kilara stood just inside the airlock, unsure what to do. Her forearms were pressed close to her body, making herself as small as possible. She watched as John moved around the ship, pressing buttons and checking screens. "Outpost 86 is completely dark now," John said, looking at a monitor. "Life support is gone. We got out just in time." Kilara nodded but remained silent. She felt strange being on this ship. It was clean and well-maintained, nothing like the dirty cargo holds where she had spent most of her life. John turned to look at her. "Are you okay? Do you need to sit down?" "I will stand where instructed," Kilara said. Her voice was flat, the way she had been taught to speak to owners. "What tasks do you require of me?" John's face changed. He looked confused, then sad. "I don't require any tasks. You're not." "I didn't bring you here to work for me." Now Kilara was confused. "Then why did you bring me? Serve. It is our purpose." John sighed and ran a hand through his hair. "I brought you because you were going to die if I left you there. Look, why don't you sit down?" He pointed to a cushioned chair near the control panel. "We should talk." Kilara hesitated, then moved slowly to the chair. Sitting on furniture meant for owners felt wrong. She perched on the edge, ready to stand if ordered. First things first, John said, sitting in the pilot's chair across from her. What's your name? Kilara, she answered. Designation K-17 to 89. Just Kilara is fine, John said with a small smile. I'm John Miller, like I said before. This is my ship, the Wanderer. I'm an independent trader. I haul cargo between colonies and stations, Kilara nodded, waiting for him to explain her duties. I'm heading to New Durango next, John continued. It's a mining colony about 4 days from here. You're welcome to stay aboard until then. After that, we can figure out what you want to do, what I want. Kilara repeated the words as if they made no sense. John nodded. Yes, what you want, where you want to go. What you want to do, Kilara's hands began to tremble. One of her lower hands gripped the edge of the chair tightly. I do not understand. Zinthi do not want. We serve, we follow orders. John leaned forward. His voice was gentle. Kilara, I don't know much about Zinthi, but I know you're a person, not a thing. On my ship and in human space, people aren't property. They don't just serve, they make choices. Kilara felt her chest tighten. This was not how the world worked, not her world. She had been born in a breeding facility, trained from birth to use her mathematical skills to serve, sold to her first owner when she was still a child. Every day of her life had been about following orders, being useful, having value to someone. I need to show you where you can sleep, John said, standing up. He seemed to sense her discomfort and changed the subject. Come on. Kilara followed him through the ship. The Wanderer wasn't large, but it was bigger than she expected for a one-person vessel. They passed the engine room, a small kitchen area, and a cargo hold before reaching a narrow hallway with 3 doors. This is my room, John said, pointing to the first door. That's the bathroom, he pointed to the second. And this can be your room. He opened the third door. Inside was a small but clean cabin with a bed, a shelf, and a small desk built into the wall. There was even a round window showing the stars outside. My room? Kilara asked. The concept was alien to her. Zinthi sleep in service alcoves or communal quarters. Well, on this ship, you sleep in a bed in your own room, John said firmly. The door locks from the inside so you can have privacy. Privacy, another strange concept. Kilara had never had privacy in her life. She had always been watched, monitored, evaluated. I don't understand, she said again. Her voice sounded small even to her own ears. Why are you doing this? John was quiet for a moment. Where I come from, on Earth, we have a long, ugly history of people owning other people. We decided, as a species, that it was wrong, that no person should own another person. He paused. I know the galaxy is a big place with different rules. But on my ship, those are the rules I follow. Kilara felt something inside her breaking open. It was frightening. But what will I do? If I don't serve, what purpose do I have? That's for you to figure out, John said. But you don't have to do it all at once. Right now, you need rest and food? How about we start there? He led her back to the kitchen area and showed her how to use the food synthesizer. The machine could make simple meals from stored proteins and carbohydrates. Nothing fancy, but better than the emergency ration he had given her on the station. Can you eat human food? John asked, suddenly concerned. Yes, Kilara said. Zinthi digestive systems are adaptable. I have eaten many types of food, John nodded, relieved. He set the synthesizer to make a simple soup and handed the bowl to Kilara when it was ready. The warm smell made her stomach rumble loudly. Eat slowly, John reminded her. Your body needs time to adjust after going hungry. Kilara took the bowl with her upper hands. The soup was warm and salty. It tasted better than anything she could remember. She sipped it carefully, feeling its warmth spread through her body. Thank you, she said after a few sips. The words felt inadequate. You're welcome, John replied. He made a bowl for himself and sat across from her at the small table. They ate in silence for a while. Kilara noticed that John didn't watch her constantly like her previous owners had. He seemed comfortable with quiet. Can I ask you something? John said finally. Kilara nodded. You mentioned you have mathematical skills. What kind of work did you do before? I calculated jump trajectories for cargo vessels, Kalara explained. I can process multiple variables faster than basic ship computers. I also translated trade contracts in 17 languages. John's eyebrows rose. That's impressive. Did you enjoy that work? Enjoy? Kalara had never considered whether she enjoyed her tasks. She had simply done them. I was good at it, she said, unsure how else to answer. Being good at something isn't the same as liking it, John said. But that's a conversation for another day. You should rest after you eat. Later, alone in her new room, Kalara sat on the edge of the bed. She had never slept on something so soft. The lights were dimmed but not off. John had shown her how to control them with a panel by the bed. Control, choice, freedom. The concepts swirled in her mind like the stars. Outside her window, they terrified her. Kalara wrapped her 4 arms around herself. The ship hummed quietly around her. She was safe, fed, and warm for the first time in weeks. Yet she felt more lost than ever. What did it mean to be a person and not property? What would she do if no one told her what to do? Without orders to follow, who was she? Kalara didn't know the answers. But as she finally lay down on the bed, pulling the soft blanket around her, she realized something. For the first time in her life, she might have the chance to find out. Kalara woke to a gentle knocking on her door. For a moment, she didn't know where she was. The soft bed beneath her felt strange. Then she remembered the dying station. The human named John, the ship called Wanderer. Kalara, are you awake? John's voice came through the door. We'll be approaching a jump point soon. I thought you might want to see it. Jump point. The words triggered something in Kalara's mind. She had worked with jump points for years, calculating the exact coordinate ships needed to safely travel through space. I am awake, she called back. I will come out. She found John in the cockpit, checking the ship's systems. Through the main viewport, she could see the stars and the faint shimmer of a jump point in the distance. Good morning, John said. Did you sleep well? Kalara nodded. The bed was very comfortable. Thank you, John smiled. I made some breakfast. It's just protein bars and coffee, nothing fancy. Kalara took the offered food. She had never been given food without earning it first. The kindness still felt wrong somehow, but the hunger in her stomach was stronger than her discomfort. We're heading to the new Durango jump point, John explained as he turned back to the controls. Once we make the jump, it's about 3 days to the colony. Kalara looked at the navigation screen. The numbers and coordinates flowed across it. Without thinking, she reached out and touched the screen. Your calculation is off by 0.0047, she said. John looked at her, surprised. What? The jump coordinates? Kalara pointed to the numbers. The gravitational pull from the nearby star cluster requires a minor adjustment. Your current course would cause a small but unnecessary strain on your engines? John studied the screen. The nav computer didn't flag any issues. Most ship computers use standard formulas, Kalara explained. They don't account for subtle gravitational variations in real time. John looked at her with new interest. Can you show me the correct coordinates? Kalara hesitated. This felt like familiar ground, using her skills, being useful. She stepped forward and entered a new set of numbers into the system. This approach will be 4.3% more efficient, she said. John checked her work, then nodded. That's impressive. Where did you learn to do calculations like that? I was bred for it, Kalara said simply. My genetic line was optimized for mathematical processing. I began training when I was very young. A shadow passed over John's face. You were bred for it, like an animal? Kalara didn't understand his reaction. Xanthi breeding is carefully controlled to produce offspring with desirable traits. It is normal. John looked like he wanted to say something but stopped himself. Instead, he adjusted the ship's course to match Kalara's calculations. Would you like to help me pilot through the jump point? He asked after a moment. Kalara felt a strange flutter in her chest. You would trust me to help? Of course, John said. You clearly know what you're doing. He showed her the co-pilot controls. Kalara sat in the chair, her 4 hands hovering over the panels. This felt both familiar and entirely new. In the past, she had calculated jumps but never actually executed them. Her owners had always taken her work and implemented it themselves. "Ready?" John asked. Kalara nodded. Together they guided the Wanderer toward the jump point. The ship hummed as it accelerated. The stars outside began to stretch and blur. There was a moment of pressure, a strange twisting sensation, and then they were through. The stars realigned in new patterns. "Perfect jump," John said, grinning. At her, "Best one I've made in months. Thank you." Kalara felt that strange flutter again. "You're welcome." She realized she was smiling. It felt unusual. Zinthi were not encouraged to show emotions. Emotions interfered with efficiency. Over the next 2 days, Kalara spent more time in the cockpit. John taught her about the Wanderer's systems. He explained how he had bought the ship secondhand and fixed it up himself. There was pride in his voice when he talked about it. "Why do you travel alone?" Kalara asked during their third meal together. She was learning to ask questions, though it still felt strange. John's face grew serious. "I was in the Earth Navy for 10 years, served on big ships with hundreds of people. When I left, I wanted something different. Something that was just mine, where I made the rules. Do you not get lonely?" John looked surprised at the question. "Sometimes. But I stop at colonies and stations. I have friends scattered around." "What about you? Did you have friends before?" Kalara thought about this. "Zinthi do not form friendships as humans understand them. We had work groups. I knew other Zinthi who performed similar functions, but no friends. No one knew were close." "Tio?" Kalara shook her head. It was discouraged. "Attachments reduce efficiency." John looked sad again. "That's no way to live." On the third day, John received a message. He frowned as he read it. "There's a problem," he said. "Pirates have been spotted near New Durango. The colony's asking incoming ships to delay arrival." Kalara felt a chill. Pirates often attacked cargo vessels like the Wanderer. They would take the cargo and sometimes the crew as well. She had been on a ship that was attacked once. Her owner had sold her to the pirates to save himself. "What will we do?" she asked. John studied the navigation chart. "We could change course, head to a different colony. But I have contracts to fulfill in New Durango." He looked troubled. "The cargo bay is full of medical supplies they're waiting for." Kalara looked at the chart. Her mind began working, calculating routes and probabilities. "There is another option." John looked at her. "What's that?" "We could use a series of micro-jumps," Kalara explained. "Short, rapid jumps between nearby points. It would make us harder to track and allow us to approach from an unexpected direction." "Micro-jumps?" John looked skeptical. "That's extremely difficult to calculate. Most nav computers can't handle the precision required." "I can," Kalara said. She didn't say it with pride, just as a fact. "I can calculate the jumps in real time." John studied her face. "Are you sure? It would be a lot of work?" "I am sure," Kalara said. For the first time, she felt like she was offering her skills rather than having them demanded. John nodded. "Okay, let's try it." For the next several hours, they worked together. Kalara calculated each small jump and John executed them. They made 12 jumps in total, each one bringing them closer to New Durango from a different angle than their original course. The work was intense. Kalara's mind had to process countless variables for each jump. But there was something different about this time. She wasn't doing it because she was ordered to. She was doing it to help John, to protect the ship that had become her temporary home. When they finally arrived at New Durango without encountering any pirates, John let out a whoop of joy. "We did it," he exclaimed. "That was brilliant, Kalara." "Absolutely brilliant." He held up his hand in front of her. Kalara looked at it, confused. "It's a high five," John explained. "A way humans celebrate success together." "You slap your hand against mine?" Hesitantly, Kalara raised one of her upper hands and gently touched it to John's. He laughed and clasped her hand in his, shaking it. "We make a good team," he said. "Team." The word echoed in Kalara's mind, not owner and property. not master and servant. A team da as the Wanderer docked at New Durango, Kalara felt something new growing inside her. She didn't have a name for it yet. But for the first time, she had used her abilities by choice rather than command, and it felt right. New Durango was bigger than Kalara expected. The mining colony was built into the side of a mountain on a small, rocky planet. Huge metal structures reached up toward the sky. Ships of all sizes came and went from the busy landing pads. First time on New Durango? John asked as they walked down the Wanderer's ramp. He carried a small bag over his shoulder. Kalara nodded. She stayed close to John, her forearms held tight against her body. There were so many people around. Humans mostly, but also other species she recognized. A few gave her curious looks. Zinthi were not common in this part of space. "Stay with me," John said. "I need to deliver the medical supplies and meet with some people. Then I'll show you around." Kalara followed him through the busy streets. She had never been allowed to walk freely like this before. Her previous owners had always kept her on a leash or in a transport cage when in public. Walking beside John as if she were a person felt strange but good. They reached a large building with a red symbol on the front. John explained it was the colony's medical center. Inside, a woman with short gray hair greeted them. "John Miller." "About time you showed up," she said with a smile. "We were getting worried." "Sorry for the delay, Dr. Carter," John said. "Had to take a detour because of those pirates." Dr. Carter nodded. "They've been causing trouble for weeks. The colony security can't catch them." Her eyes moved to Kalara. "And who is this?" John put his hand gently on Kalara's shoulder. "This is Kalara. I found her abandoned on Outpost 86. Just before the station failed. Kalara, this is Dr. Olivia Carter. She runs the medical center here." "Hello," Kalara said quietly. Dr. Carter smiled at her. "Welcome to New Durango, Kalara. Any friend of John's is welcome here." Friend. The word made Kalara feel warm inside. Was she John's friend? She had never been anyone's friend before. After delivering the supplies, John took Kalara to a busy place he called a market. There were stalls selling food, clothes, and other items. The smells and sounds were overwhelming. Kalara had never seen so many different things in one place. "You need some clothes," John said. "Those rags from the station won't do anymore." He led her to a stall with clothing. The woman running it looked Kalara up and down. "Not many Zinthi around here," she said. "But I think I have something that will work for those 4 arms." She brought out some simple clothes in soft blue and green colors. John bought them without asking about the price. He also bought a small bag for Kalara to carry her things. "You can change later," he said. "Let's get something to eat first." They went to a small food stall. John ordered something called noodles for both of them. The food was hot and flavorful. Kalara ate slowly, savoring each bite. No one had ever asked what food she liked before. John noticed she seemed to enjoy the noodles and smiled as they ate. A loud voice called out, "Miller, is that you?" A tall man with dark skin approached their table. He wore a uniform with symbols Kalara didn't recognize. "Sam!" John stood up and clasped the man's hand. "Good to see you. This is Kalara. Kalara, this is Sam Martinez." "We served in the Navy together?" Sam nodded at Kalara. "Nice to meet you." He turned back to John. "Heard you had some trouble with pirates on the way in?" John shook his head. "Almost, but we avoided them. Kalara helped me plot a series of micro-jumps that kept us off their scanners." Sam's eyebrows went up. "Micro-jumps? That's impressive." He looked at Kalara with new interest. "You must be quite the navigator." Kalara felt her scales flush slightly. She wasn't used to praise. "I am good with numbers," she said simply. Sam laughed. "Modest too, that's rare in this place." He turned back to John. "Listen, I need to talk to you about something privately." John frowned. "Anything you can say to me, you can say in front of Kalara?" Sam looked uncomfortable. "It's about her, actually." Word spreads fast in a colony this size. "People are asking questions about your new friend." "What kind of questions?" John's voice had an edge to it now. You know how it is? Sam said quietly. Some folks still think Xynthi are property, not people. The colony administrator wants to see you. Something about registration papers. Kalara felt cold suddenly. Registration papers. The documents that proved who owned a Xynthi. She had none. Her last owner had probably destroyed them when he left her to die. John's face hardened. Kalara isn't property. She doesn't need papers, Sam nodded. I agree with you, but not everyone does. Just go see Administrator Bennett, smooth things over. After Sam left, John looked angry. I'm sorry about this, he said to Kalara. Some humans still have backward ideas. Kalara felt afraid. What will happen to me? Nothing, John said firmly. You're under my protection. Let's go see this administrator and straighten things out. The administration building was tall and made of shiny metal. Inside, a woman with a stern face met them. She introduced herself as Administrator Bennett. Mr. Miller, she said, not smiling. I understand you've brought an unregistered Xynthi into our colony. Her name is Kalara, John said. And she doesn't need registration because she isn't property, she's a person. Administrator Bennett sighed. Mr. Miller, I understand you may have personal views on this matter, but the law is clear. In most systems, Xynthi are classified as sentient property. Without proper ownership documentation, I cannot allow her to remain here. That's ridiculous, John said, his voice rising. She's as intelligent as you or me. She has feelings, thoughts, dreams. How can you call her property? It's not my decision, the administrator said. It's galactic law. Not an Earth alliance. Territory, John countered. And New Durango is an Earth colony. A frontier colony, she corrected. We have special provisions for dealing with non-human species. She looked at Kalara directly for the first time. Does she have any special skills that would benefit the colony? Before John could answer, Kalara spoke. I can calculate jump trajectories with 99.8% accuracy. I speak 17 languages. I can process complex mathematical problems faster than most computers. The administrator looked surprised, both at Kalara speaking and at what she said. Is this true? She asked John. John nodded. She helped me navigate a series of micro-jumps to avoid pirates. She's brilliant. Administrator Bennett was quiet for a moment. The colony does need skilled navigators for our mining ships. She tapped something on her desk. I could issue a temporary work permit. It would allow her to stay while we figure this out. A work permit? John looked skeptical. Not as property, but as an employee. It's the best I can do right now, the administrator said. Otherwise, she'd have to leave New Durango immediately. John looked at Kalara. What do you think? It's your decision. Kalara felt strange. No one had ever asked what she thought before. No one had ever given her a choice. I would like to stay, she said finally. I would like to work. As a person, not as property. Administrator Bennett nodded. Very well. I'll issue the permit. But this is temporary, Mr. Miller. Eventually, we'll need a more permanent solution. As they left the building, Kalara felt confused. Why did you let me decide? Why not just tell me what to do? John stopped walking and turned to face her. Because you're not a thing to be ordered around. You're a person with the right to make your own choices. Even if my choice makes things harder for you, even then, John said with a smile. That's what freedom means, Kalara. The right to choose your own path, even when it's difficult. Kalara thought about this as they walked back to the wanderer, freedom, choice, words that were beginning to have real meaning to her now, for the first time. She was being treated as a person, not property. And though it was frightening, it was also wonderful. 3 months passed on New Durango. Kalara worked at the colony's navigation center, calculating jump routes for the mining ships. The work was easy for her, and for the first time, she was paid for her skills. She had her own small room in a housing unit near the center. She had her own money, her own clothes, her own things. John visited often. His trading runs took him away from the colony for weeks at a time, but he always came back. Each time he returned, he brought Kalara something new, a book, a colorful scarf, a small plant for her room. She kept everything carefully arranged on a shelf. "You don't have to bring me gifts," Kalara told him one day as they walked through the market. "I know," John said with a smile. "I want to." That's what friends do, friends. The word still felt new and precious to Kalara. She had made other friends too. Dr. Carter had become a regular visitor. Sam sometimes joined them for meals. They treated her like a person, not property, but not everyone did. Some colonists refused to speak directly to her. Others called her it instead of she. The temporary work permit from Administrator Bennett had been extended twice, but Kalara knew it was not a permanent solution. One day, John arrived at her door looking serious. "We need to talk," he said. They went to a small cafe they often visited. After they ordered drinks, John pulled out a datapad. "I've been doing research," he said, "about Zinthi rights. I found something important." He showed her the screen. It displayed an official document with many legal terms Kalara didn't understand. "This is from the Earth Alliance Central Court," John explained. 5 years ago, they ruled that sentient beings cannot be classified as property within Alliance space. The ruling specifically mentioned Zinthi. Kalara felt her heart beat faster. "What does this mean?" "It means that legally, in Earth Alliance territory, you are already a free person. Administrator Bennett either doesn't know about this ruling or has been ignoring it." Kalara stared at the document. "So I don't need the work permit?" "No," John said firmly. "You have the same rights as any human in the colony, but there's more." He swiped to another document. "I've been in contact with an advocacy group on Earth. They help non-humans navigate the legal system. They want to use your case to push for broader recognition of Zinthi rights." "My case?" Kalara felt suddenly afraid. "What would I have to do?" "Tell your story," John said gently. "Help others understand that Zinthi are people, not things. It would mean traveling to Earth, speaking to officials. It wouldn't be easy." Kalara looked down at her hands. All 4 of them were trembling slightly. "I don't know if I can do that. I'm just one Zinthi. Who would listen to me?" "More people than you think," John said. "Your story matters, Kalara. You matter." Before she could respond, the cafe door burst open. Sam rushed in, looking worried. "John, Kalara," he said urgently. "There's trouble. A Vexery trading ship just docked. They're claiming ownership of all Zinthi in the colony." Kalara felt cold fear wash over her. The Vexery Trading Consortium. Her former owners. "How did they find me?" she whispered. "They probably didn't," Sam said. "They're doing this at colonies all over the sector, trying to reclaim what they call their property before more human laws can protect Zinthi." John's face hardened. "They can't have her. The Earth Alliance ruling protects her." "They're meeting with Administrator Bennett right now," Sam said. "They don't care about Earth Alliance rulings. They have their own paperwork claiming ownership." John stood up. "Then we need to be at that meeting, now." The 3 of them hurried to the administration building. Inside, they found Administrator Bennett in her office with 2 Vexery. The Vexery were tall, thin aliens with gray skin and large black eyes. Kalara had never seen her owners in person before. They had always worked through middlemen. One of the Vexery pointed at Kalara as soon as she entered. "There, that one is consortium property. Designation K17 to 89. Administrator Bennett looked uncomfortable. "Mr. Miller, I was just about to call you. These gentlemen have provided documentation claiming ownership of your friend." "That documentation means nothing here," John said firmly. "Earth Alliance law clearly states that sentient beings cannot be classified as property." "Earth Alliance law doesn't apply in Vexery space," one of the aliens said coldly. "This Zinthi was bred, raised, and trained in our facilities at great expense. It is our property." "She," John corrected angrily. "Not it. Her name is Kalara, and she is a person." The Vexery made a dismissive gesture. "Its designation is K1789. We have invested significant resources in its development. We demand its return." Kilara felt herself shrinking back, becoming small again. The fear she thought she had left behind came rushing back. Would she be taken away? Would she lose everything she had gained? Then she felt John's hand on her shoulder. His touch was gentle but firm, grounding her in the present. "Kilara," he said quietly, "this is your life, your choice. What do you want to do?" The room went silent. Everyone was looking at her. The Vexery, the administrator, Sam, John, all waiting for her to speak. Kilara took a deep breath. Then, for the first time in her life, she stood tall in front of those who had once owned her. "My name is Kilara," she said, her voice stronger than she expected. "I am not property. I am a person. I make my own choices now." The Vexery looked shocked. A Zinthi speaking to them this way was unheard of. "I choose to stay here," Kilara continued. "I choose freedom. I choose to be treated with respect." Administrator Bennett cleared her throat. "The Zinthi, Kilara, has been working productively in our colony for 3 months. Our legal experts will need to review this situation carefully." "There is nothing to review," one of the Vexery said angrily. "We will take this matter to higher authorities." "Please do," John said. "Take it all the way to the Earth Alliance Central Court if you want. They've already ruled on this issue." The Vexery looked at each other, then back at Kilara. "This isn't over," one of them said before they both left the room, after they were gone. Kilara's legs felt weak. She sat down heavily in a chair. "Are you okay?" John asked, kneeling beside her. Kilara nodded slowly. "I think so. I've never spoken to anyone like that before. Especially not owners." "Former owners," John corrected with a small smile. "You were amazing." Administrator Bennett looked thoughtful. "I'll need to review the Earth Alliance ruling Mr. Miller mentioned. If it says what he claims, then perhaps we need to revise our policies regarding Zinthi." Later, as they walked back to Kilara's room, John asked, "What about the advocacy group? Will you consider their offer?" Kilara was quiet for a moment. Then she nodded. "Yes, I want to help other Zinthi. I want them to know they can be more than property, they can be people." John smiled at her. "I'm proud of you, Kilara." As they walked, Kilara thought about how far she had come. From a forgotten cell on a dying station to standing up for herself and her people. From property to person. From nothing to something, and it had all started with one human who saw her as she could be, not as others had defined her. "Thank you," she said to John, "for everything." John shook his head. "Don't thank me. You did the hard part. You chose to become who you are now." Kilara looked up at the stars beginning to appear in the evening sky. Somewhere out there were other Zinthi who still lived as she once had, property, tools, things. She would help them see they could be more, just as a human had helped her see it. She was no longer nothing. She was Kilara, and her life was her own.